Do 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 do. Let's hit record. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it because of, well, if you understand that all your actions stem from like some sort of unconscious thought or unconscious self, then you understand that like most likely, unconsciously or subconsciously, there's this thought in your head that said hit record. What you're gonna say, well, you don't know because of the action stemmed from unconscious thought and non-conscious. So like I could go about understanding why I hit record, but would that make for a boring video? Well, all my videos are boring, they don't get views. I'm just kidding, I actually like them. When I rewatch the shit I post, I'm like, wow, this guy is so, I wouldn't say smart, because if I was smart, then I'd be getting views. But 1 or 2 views ain't bad. For my loyal customers, 1 or 2 views. I make it for them. I'm just kidding. Well, let's talk about why I make videos. Well, there's no crime in documenting your thoughts and documenting yourself. Well, I don't document my life, but then I think my thought process and where I am mentally will kind of give people insight into like what I've been experiencing or where I would be in my life if you pay enough attention and just make assumptions. Now, I like making videos. It gives me time to think consciously. It gives me time to like also like review what I was thinking about or what exactly I was saying. It's quite fun because if I'm doing something I do every day, only difference is I'm filming it. Imagine walking into some guy talking to himself. It's less weird if you walk in and some guy's talking to a camera. Although in the past it probably would have been seen as just as weird. Um, yeah. Why do we do anything? It's because if we enjoy it. I remember I was reading the intro of some book. I say intro because if I'm still at the intro, I haven't finished it. Not even close. It was a book called The Teachings of All Ages by Manny P. Hall. I remember because it was such a like a long and drawn out like the intro is so long and drawn out to the point where I could have finished the whole book in the time I spent reading the intro. I think I spent such a long time reading the intro because of it's quite dense. Like there's a lot going on. Now I'm kind of asking myself, why are my arms folded? What am I closing myself off? Do I feel the need to be defensive? But I was reading that book, and there's this other philosopher. So it spoke about different philosophers and their different teachings through their different beliefs and teachings throughout time. And it was quite interesting because all these philosophers have like different theories on how a person should live their life. Now, I'd say I'd say it's interesting in the sense of like it's hard to kind of see what they have in common because it comes across as like their teachings come across as like so different from each other. But you realize that it's the same. All of them are focused on understanding the world. They just do it through different means because they'll say things like, "My philosophy is that pleasure is the only thing that matters." But what shows that they're unsure is that even though they're experiencing pleasure or they're gaining all this knowledge, they just use it as a tool more so than as a way to like than as like a it's more of a tool than a way to say I've figured out the secret to life, because they'll use something like pleasure as a tool to sort of understand what's going on. So even through their philosophies they understand that they don't know everything. Now Plato said something interesting or had an interesting philosophy, and his school of thought was that of like skepticism, which was quite interesting. But I guess it kind of begs the question of why we do anything, and I think we all lean into like trying to understand the world and trying to figure things out. It can come across as a futile attempt, um, especially when you think that there's an end goal. It can come across as futile because you realize that you'll never figure everything out. The universe is way too vast. But then when your approach is not to like, when you don't really have like an end goal, then you start to understand that like it's simply about expanding consciousness and expanding experience, and that kind of brings pleasure to people. Like finding little nuggets of truth will bring pleasure to people. Um, yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. It's also interesting because if I read like a portion of a book, I mean, like I said, it's dense. So within one page, you probably learn a lot more than you learn from reading 5 pages of a certain book. So yeah, it's interesting. Certain authors are just good at like relaying dense information using a few words. What is it called? It's like a concise form of messaging. Now I have a feeling this will be one of my better quality videos in terms of like the ideas and how I spoke, which is interesting because I started off saying, well, my subconscious told me to record. Why? Well, I guess that leads me to the question of why do we do anything? I guess I already answered that. It's to expand our consciousness and experience life. The joy of life is in wondering, and I wonder. uh, but yeah, I don't like saying is because of speaking in absolutes is just the easy way to be wrong. I don't mind being wrong, but it's better if I say might be or most likely is, because then it kind of implies that this is most likely the truth, or this contains some truth, but then someone else could expand on it and like enhance the idea, or just flat out say it's wrong. Because we live in a universe where it's kind of hard to see any absolutes other than gravitational law and attraction. Those are the same thing, aren't they? Things are attracted to each other. That's actually interesting. Things are attracted to each other. But yeah, really makes you think, doesn't it? I love life sometimes. Even in the moments where I hate life, I love life. But I'm gonna end it there because I don't like speaking for too long because then I end up just saying random shit. But the random shit could be good.